Hello, online pipe community. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper. Today we have got more morsels for mental manducation, and we are diving into the next chapter of C.S. Lewis' Mere Christianity. But first, a 3-star pipe by Lee bulldog with a nice tapered stem. I have another bowl of Robert McConnell's Scottish Flake, which we'll be talking about a little more tomorrow. Now, this next chapter is entitled Morality and Psychoanalysis. In it, Lewis starts off by pointing out that, properly considered, the Christian notion of morality and psychoanalysis have nothing that is in conflict. See, Christian morality is in the business of teaching us how to make good decisions in a good moral sense. Where psychoanalysis is concerned with helping us to be able, with sound minds, to make rational decisions without necessarily having a judgment value on them. So they don't conflict in the slightest. Let's see if we can get my lighter lit. There we go. I've been smoking this stuff with no dry time, so it does take me a few extra relights to really get it going, but I think you get more flavor out of it that way. At any rate, so psychoanalysis is more concerned with helping us to make rational decisions rather than placing any judgment on them. One of the problems that we have as humans is that we can only see people's actions, their choices. Even the greatest psychologists cannot truly see behind those choices. They may think they do, and sometimes they may be right, but they don't have the knowledge of what's behind people's actions and choices the way God does. God sees the heart. He includes that in his judgment, and we don't know exactly how he does that, but we can't. Lewis uses the example of soldiers in battle, which he had personal experience with. I don't. So I'm going to use a slightly different analogy. Suppose we were to see a baby toddler standing in the street in the way of an oncoming vehicle. Which vehicle will certainly crush the child? Someone with an irrational fear of babies, and yes, there is such a thing, it's pediophobia, might very naturally allow that child to get hit because of that irrational fear. That's not a moral choice there. That's an unsound mind making a choice. Psychoanalysis is concerned with fixing that irrational fear. Now, supposing we do that. If we do that, then that same person, faced with the same decision, to make, may come to one of two decisions actually made. There is a very rational fear now of being struck by the vehicle. If you're struck by that, it'll cause damage to you as well. Christian morality includes an imperative that we love others as ourselves. That changes the equation. That imperative is not placed on non-Christians in terms of morality. Some of them demonstrate it regardless, but it's not an imperative. For the Christian, it is. And that changes, like I said, that changes the equation. Changes the entire question now of what to do. And it turns it into a moral one. Very much so, in fact. We're going to try this again. I'll probably get this well lit just as I'm finishing up the video. So it changes the core of the question, and God is actually, the Christian God is concerned with that core. Because God is not concerned only with what you do, but why you do it. Another example, and this goes to motivation, and because we so often hear this, well, what I did didn't hurt anybody, so what's wrong with it? Well, the powerless man who has a rage and a hatred for everyone around him may not harm a single one of them. Where someone who actually does have that ability, and he used the example of Himmler, they were still fighting the Nazis when he did this. That man's rage enabled the killing of millions between Himmler and Hitler. God sees both. That rage destroys the individual as well, not merely those around him. Am I claiming to know exactly how God evaluates the two? No. No. Don't for a moment think that. But God is concerned with the rage and hatred of the impotent man, just as much as he is with the rage and hatred of the powerful. And that rage and hatred destroys the individual. God's concerned with the individual. He is concerned with making the individual, with making you, with making me better. Lewis closes. I think we may have it. Lewis closes by wrapping back around to psychoanalysis in the sense of moral self-awareness. He makes a number of analogies. The two that jumped out at me the most are that we don't fully comprehend sleep except when we're awake, and we don't truly see the dangers of drunkenness except when we're sober. In much the same way, no analogy is perfect, but in much the same way, only the person who is truly concerned with morality understands and sees the awfulness that is evil behavior. The bad man himself, who is either unconcerned with or even unconcerned with morality, or even thinks that he is good, doesn't really know good or evil in that sense. Doesn't understand them because he's not concerned with morality. Takes a good person, or in this moral sense, a good person who's concerned with the moral choices that we face and how we navigate through them to really understand good and evil. And God is concerned with that internal goodness, because it affects external goodness. With that, folks, I'm going to try and get this thing lit. Still haven't done it successfully. I may have accidentally packed too tight. I may have to stir it around, to dump it and light it out. Whatever I need to do, you light something you like and enjoy your afternoon.